Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Flatout Racing Network's coverage of the brand new season, Season 6. It's the return of the Talladega Nights Shake and Bake Series. Getting ready here to kick off the regular season, the run to the playoffs. 7 races to determine that playoff field, and it all kicks off here tonight in the opener at Talladega Nights Super Speedway. I'm Seth Cole, being joined by Jack Mitchell. And Jack, normally when we end up having, it doesn't even matter if it's a super speedway series, but when we end up having like a normal series at speedways and short tracks and road courses, everybody usually for the most part tunes into the regular season finale. They tune into the elimination races during the playoffs. When it comes to the super speedway series, when everybody starts at 0 points and aggression's going to be at its highest, in my opinion, the season opener, if you're looking for excitement, that's the race you want to tune into.
Absolutely. Everybody's chomping at the bit to get back into the action here. And of course, with you said only 7 races in the regular season, there's not a whole lot of time to make up lost ground. So everybody's going to want to jump out of the gate and start as hot as they possibly can.
We're going to be talking about the parameters to be able to make the postseason with the limited time window that drivers will have. Victory here tonight, and somebody could already lock themselves, get that golden ticket into the postseason. Drivers are currently in qualifying. It's a packed house here tonight, a full field. Going to be a crazy one for 66 laps of racing. We appreciate everybody tuning in here tonight. We've seen before different iterations of Talladega Super Speedway, the double wide, the 3 wide racing. Pit road comes into play, but how much of that are you really worried about in the first race of the season? Because if you end up getting the checkered flag tonight, you're kind of worry-free. You just have to finish in the top 20 in points in the next 6 races, and you're locked into the playoffs. If you wreck out here tonight, there's 6 races to make up the ground that you may have lost.
Yeah, there shouldn't be a whole lot of panic in too many drivers tonight. Obviously, when you have an opportunity to get the win, everybody starts at 0. Everybody has an equal opportunity to try and be the first driver to lock themselves up a playoff spot. I don't think you're going to see too much panic if it doesn't go your way, because there's still plenty of time, but not that much time. So, just see what you can do here, kind of maybe experiment while you still have an opportunity. But if you've got a chance to go for the win, if you're up front near the end, I think you're going to want to take that chance.
Again, appreciate everybody tuning into our coverage here tonight. Had some drivers that are participating in tonight's event. Craig Hagley, Grant Wesley chime into our comments saying that really excited to have this series back. It's been a while, if I'm not mistaken. I believe the last series that we covered, it was the mega team races for Talladega Nights. I was in an entirely different location, so great to have it back. David Chin in our chat here as well. We're going to see, actually, David on track tomorrow night for some more super speedway racing as we begin to wind down the current season of the ASR Super Speedway Series. I'll be tomorrow night at 8 p.m. But we're getting close to the conclusion here of qualifying. And tonight, normally in Super Speedway races, I read off the starting lineup for everybody before the drivers go green. We've got a special treat that we'll have here tonight and in the upcoming weeks where the drivers themselves will be introducing themselves to you, shouting out the sponsors on their race cars and whatever else they would like to say. And it's a unique little driver's grid that they do here at Talladega Nights, and kind of makes it a little bit more personal, I think, with the drivers as well. Kind of gives you a voice behind the wheel, if you will, of all of these race cars that you're going to see out on the track here under the lights here this evening. So without further ado, we are going to see if we can hop into the race channel and deliver to you tonight's drivers participating in the season opener of Season 6 of the Talladega Nights Shake and Bake Series.
Channel switched.
Alright, here are the drivers that are getting ready to take to tonight's Super Speedway for the first race of the season. Here's tonight's starting lineup.
Starting on the pole, Kelly Causey from Agricola, Mississippi in the Jiff Chevrolet.
Nate Balser starting outside pole and number 79, Hope Chevron Chevrolet out of Seattle, Washington.
Starting third, number 38, Rodney Sullins, driving the Black Rifle Coffee Havana Brisa Chevrolet Camaro out of Bentonville, Arkansas.
Starting fourth from Gainesville, Georgia, Mark Pagley, driving the 28 Wood Brothers Dark Horse Mustang.
Starting fifth out of Lancaster, South Carolina, Robert Breedlove driving the 931 Firehouse Subs. Just want to shout out to Jeffrey for bringing this back to us all.
Starting P6, the one, the only, Greg Palmer driving a 22 Chevy Dick Insider out of Lewis, Delaware.
User
Good luck, boys.
disconnected from your channel.
Starting seventh, 889 RJ Copa Cabana from Archibald, Pennsylvania, in the National Guard
User joined
Chevrolet.
your channel.
Starting eighth, an 82 Cypher Construction Ford Mustang out of Canaan Valley, West Virginia. Glad to be back, boys. Let's go racing.
Starting ninth, driving the 55 Chevy, Ken Roberts, West Bend, Wisconsin.
Starting 10th, Grant Wesley from Princeton, Indiana, driving a number 88 NOS Energy Drink Dodge Challenger.
Starting P11 out of Florence, South Carolina, in the FRN Camaro, number 94, Jessica Lorley.
Starting 12th, joining number 40, Toyota Thai Camry, Javier Negron from the Bridgeport, Connecticut.
Starting in 13th, number 60, Perry Bond out of Virginia. Good luck.
Starting 14th in the Chevy Chevelle out of Big Stone Gap, Virginia.
Starting 15th, Bob Dixon in the 43 car from Macon, Georgia. Shake and bake.
Starting 16th in the number 10 Adidas Chevrolet, Chris Van Vliet from Annapolis, Maryland.
Starting in 17th in the 510, Stephen Brandstetter from Ranelette, Oklahoma.
Starting 18th, Robert Spring, driving the 74 Toyota, Warner's brother, from Madison, Ohio.
User disconnected from your channel.
Starting 19th in 024 Svengoolie Chevy, Dennis McCarthy from Sound Beach, New York.
Starting 20th, Garland Oaks from
User
Martinsville,
joined your
Virginia,
channel.
driving a number 67 Toyota Dr. Pepper. Go Team Wrecking Ball.
Starting 21st, the one and only mailman that we all love, Mr. Bob Sire, driving a number 27. Good luck,
Pumpkin.
everybody. Pumpkin, as he's known, aka Pumpkin.
Starting 22nd in the 85 Josh 2 and the Josh's Eggs Dodge from
User
Dunn, North
disconnected
Carolina.
from your channel.
Starting in 33rd, Ulysses Sandoval, driver of the 96 Toyota Camry for Team
Ulysses
Wrecking Ball.
Sandoval will be
joined your
starting
channel.
23rd in the number 96.
Oh, yeah.
Starting 24th is yours truly, Chris Elliott, out of Mooresville, North Carolina, driving the number 9 Race for the Cure Dodge.
Driving the number 66, starting in 25th, KD Huntsberry, driving that New York Yankee Chevrolet.
Starting in number 26, the number 80, Ed Finley, driving a Wolfpack Chevy. And let's keep in mind, this one is for guys in blue and our guys out in our military. Keep us free, boys.
Amen. Driving in 27th position, the number 7, Stephen Morrison, I believe. Good luck, everybody.
From Edmonton, Alberta. Thanks, Ken.
Position 28, starting in the number 3 GM Goodwrench Chevrolet, Gary Heiser out of Mount Sterling, Kentucky.
Starting 29th is Alex Moe, Riverside, California, driving the 48 Lowe's Chevrolet. Good luck to everyone tonight.
Starting 30th, number 2, Josh Slocum, TRD Camry, Buffalo Bills, Western New York. Good luck, everybody.
Starting 31st, number 29, Brian Wolf from Youngstown, Ohio, driving the Fluid Studios Dixie Rebel Chevrolet. Thank you, Jeff, for bringing this back. I couldn't be more excited if I was twins.
Well, thank you, buddy. Starting in 32nd, the number 56 out of Elon, North Carolina, Jeffrey Elliott, driving the Wonder Bread twin. We have 2 cars, look the same, but different numbers. So anyways, good luck to all you guys. Thank you for coming out to the Shake and Bake season number 6.
Starting shotgun on the field in the 7-Eleven Schluter Systems Camaro, John Godfrey out of Cornelius, North Carolina.
I love you,
Thank
Seth.
you,
I
Dave.
love you, man. I love you more.
Channel switched.
Absolutely. I mean, you want to kind of find that balance with it too. Obviously, when it's the start of a new season and everybody is as fired up as they sounded, it's you have the feeling that you just want to slam your foot on the gas pedal and just fire it up around the track and see how long you can make it last. But at the same time, you got to pace yourself too. It's still a pretty long race. I'm actually not sure how many laps we have tonight, but still, you want to make sure that you're there at the end when it's all said and done. Definitely. Drivers are going to be having that in the back of their heads pretty much the whole race, too. I feel like that's something that we are going to talk about in the broadcast as well. If we do get a long green flag run, pit stops are going to be in the back of everybody's heads. So now's a good time to practice those hot pitting strategies, I guess, if drivers decide to go that method, or just in general getting on the pit road in as safe a manner as you possibly can. Obviously, it's not a long season, but again, just it's not worth panicking over if you can't make it to the end. It's not worth feeling like it's all doom and gloom after just one race. It's just the first race. Everybody's just excited to be back, but I feel like that feeling is going to go away soon when drivers start to realize what kind of situations they're in. It's not just, oh, we're excited to be back. It's all right, we got to lock in, we got to stay focused and try and do what we can to make up as much positions as we can.
Drivers, to your cars.
Drivers, start your engines!
Definitely does, but I think that just makes for a more entertaining product because everybody kind of knows what everybody's got. Everybody's playbook is kind of out in the open. So, do we see any drivers maybe try something new that they haven't tried before? I'm curious to find out how they approach it in the season opener. Tried to do that, but Kelly Causey got up on the inside, and he's going to lead the moment. Just going to edge ahead. as they head down the tri-oval for the first time. We were talking about the paint schemes before this race, too. When we were going through pre-race, we were seeing that slideshow of all the paint schemes. These look really, really nice here on the racetrack. I'm gonna say, I thought I saw one car up on the wall near the back. Four wide in front of him. I think that goes back to when we were talking about the way that drivers need to pace themselves. I don't think anybody was trying to pace themselves in that moment if you're already looking four wide on lap 2. I think it was a case of the 24 just not completely realizing that he wasn't clear on the bottom. Ah. It's the worst feeling anywhere, not even just a super speedway. You're so close to dodging the wreck, and then you get one tiny little clip, and that's all it takes. Just my thought process there. You have, if we end up getting a long green flag run, you have some drivers that are going to be 4 laps short of the other drivers, so. Varying strategies early that'll make for an interesting race.
Looks like we got another lap of pacing here. Should get the lights out next time by, and it'll be interesting to kind of watch some of these drivers. They're already doubled up in these first 6 or 7 rows of the drivers that have stayed out under this caution period. So that might be a sign of full commitment that they aren't coming to pit road under this caution. However, we may end up seeing somebody make a late dive onto pit road at the 1 to green and see if they can play a little bit of strategy. A couple of drivers that I noticed that stayed out were back in the vicinity of the wreck, though one was not involved and another, I think, got very minor contact, that being the 7 of Stephen Morrison, the 56 of Jeffrey Elliott. Those dueling Wonder Bread cars, they've actually elected to stay out here under this yellow, and looks like they both right now are slated to restart in 10th and 11th respectively when we go back green. That is, if we don't have drivers up here come to pit lane, and as they make their way by the entrance, does anybody make any late movement there towards the commitment line? Does not look like that's the... Whoop, hold it! KT Huntsbury, Craig Hagley back there as well, so we had some takers coming to 1 to green.
Even more strategy variations there. Playing mind games with the rest of the field, too.
Run the risk of giving up track position, yes, but then you have an extra lap or 2 in the bank to go a little further should we go into a long green flag run. There you see the lights out, so we will go back green flag racing on lap 7, working our first caution of the evening. Nobody involved in that wreck has retired from the race. All drivers that received damage in some way, shape, or form came down pit road. Crews did the best they could to repair those race cars, and they have returned to the racetrack. So everybody that took the green, 33 drivers in total, will all be on the lead lap when we resume action here momentarily. Kelly Causey has led the opening 5 laps of this race. He'll lead the 6th one on the restart. Mark Paglia and that Lotus throwback will be to his outside in 2nd. Robert Breedlove 3rd. Greg Palmer 4th. RJ Cabana will complete the top 5. Then it's Denny Carroll, Javier Negron, Chris Van Valet, Stephen Morrison, and Jeffrey Elliott will be the top 10.
Now, right before that caution came out, we were having a brief conversation about the paint schemes, and I just have to say it, those Wonder Bread cars in that middle of the pack row there, those are perfect for a series that's called Shake and Big. I love it.
Absolutely. A little surprised one of them didn't go with the Ricky Bobby and the other one go with the Cal Naughton Jr.
I guess when you think of this movie, the first thing you think of is that Wonder Bread car, so I don't blame him.
Technically, we've got 3 Wonder Bread cars here. He's got the Kelly Causey machine. He's got the Jif Peanut Butter on the front. We got Wonder Bread on the rear section of the car as well.
That's true.
So if you had a Wonder Bread car in front, a Wonder Bread car behind, and the Jif Peanut Butter car in the middle, would you have a peanut butter sandwich?
I think so. If those 3 cars end up running 3 wide with this 0 in the middle, we'll say that the row is a sandwich.
We need a car out there with like Smucker's jam or something.
Well, they can't make 4 wide work. They tried it, and that's what led to the first caution.
Whoa!
Oh, boy.
Trouble! Mark Paglia right in the front of the field.
Looks like they got a little too antsy on that restart.
And we got one up and over. That was Jeffrey Elliott in the 56. Wow, that did not take long at all. And that was the driver that restarted in 2nd place.
I do want to see a replay, but it looked like he just got loose completely by himself. Maybe had a little hiccup on that restart or something, and we know what happened next.
A lot of rear end damage on that Ford Mustang as he's trying to get it refired and get it rolling here.
Those are the wrecks, too, at a track like this that you fear the most because they happen right at the front of the field out of absolutely nowhere. No one can do anything about it. It's just the whole field that's charging right into that.
Add to that, it's in the corner. You don't know if the car is going to go up the banking or slide down the banking.
Maybe got a bit of a bump from behind from the 22 of Greg Palmer.
I'm almost wondering if he missed a gear. Because it looked like for a brief moment he kind of slowed back into the front bumper of Palmer. Mentioned Jeffrey Elliott went up and over. I believe Dennis McCarthy also had a flip. We're going to watch this again from the aerial view. And while it doesn't always tell the story, I want to keep an eye on the miles per hour telemetry we've got here on the 28 of Paglia and see right at the time. Yeah, he shifted to neutral.
Oh, yeah.
He downshifted to neutral.
Right in front of everybody, too. And I mean, he had a car right behind him that was the 22 of Greg Palmer just pushing him from behind. And when the car that you're pushing, when he's literally on his back bumper right there, and when the car that you're pushing misses a shift, disaster.
Keep an eye on that 56 of Jeffrey Elliott. He's going to get a tap from behind from Stephen Morrison. Further contact there, and then right there, the counterweight, the grip flip down the banking for him. You also saw further back there, the 024 of Dennis McCarthy went up and over, and I might be wrong. The aerial shot might have given misinformation, but it looks like he might have sustained some roof damage on his Chevrolet. This is with the camera focused on the 024, who was quite a ways back behind this. He was restarted in 22nd. This just shows how it affected everyone in the field, from the front to mid-pack all the way to the rear of the field. And yeah, that hit right there from Katie Huntsbury flips him upside down. From the closer view, does not look like there was roof damage. There was definitely damage on the left side of that machine after tumbling up the banking.
Left side looks a little bit more beat up than anywhere else in the car. And again, like you said, that just shows you how those wrecks at the front of the field, no one sees them coming, and it's right in the corner too, so no one really has any idea which direction any car is going to go. And it's just a big pile up at the end of it.
We're going to give you one more look. This is going to be from the back of the 28 of Mark Paglia, and just take a listen. You'll hear the downshift. Either one of two things. Either he downshifted into neutral or he blew fourth gear, and I'm not sure which one it was, but we saw the end result of it regardless.
Now I'm curious to see what the strategy might be for some of those drivers, because we talked about the variation in pit stop sequences and what drivers were maybe trying to do there, but of course, with a wreck happening immediately on that restart, I feel like probably won't see too many guys come the pit road, but you never know.
It looks like after these first two yellows, two drivers have elected not to pit either time, and they're your front row. Robert Breedlove and Denny Carroll. Everybody else has been to pit road at least once. Some have been there twice. Some have been there 3 times. And if your name is Alex Moe, you've been there 4 times. As a matter of fact, He and Ulysses Sandoval, I remember them doing this a lot during Talladega nights. They like to come down pit road, continue to top off the fuel tank just about every lap of caution. They seem to have a contest of who can make the most pit stops. Right now, they're knotted at 4 apiece.
Well, knowing the racing tendencies of Alex Moe, I feel like that's right up his alley because he's the kind of guy that likes to start in the back and then make sure he's at the front of the field by the time this thing is over. So maybe he has a little friendly bet going on with Ulysses.
Could very well. So it looks like everyone involved in that wreck, they are going to try to continue on, including the 28 of Mark Paglia, who is sporting quite a bit of rear end damage. We did have one driver retire out of the race just before we went back green on the restart. Perry Bond in the Red Bull number 60 Chevrolet took his car down pit road and took it into the infield to the garage area. So he will finish 33rd here tonight in this opener. One thing I love too about the Men Cup 2019 mod is gives you a lot of room for creativity. We heard Denny Carroll during the driver introductions. We've got Chevrolet Camaros out here, but he's slightly different. He's got himself, if we can get a look at the front end of it here, a Chevy Chevelle.
How about that? That almost reminds me in a way of the I once painted for Men Cup 2019. I painted a one of the newer Chevy Camaros. I forget what the exact model was called. This kind of reminds me of it in a way, but it goes to show the creativity of this community. It never ceases to amaze me, honestly.
No, it doesn't. I'm trying to remember what mod it was for. I want to say it was for the next gen mod. Somebody, for some reason, decided that a Jeep would look good on there, but I guess if it exists, they will create it.
Can't say I've gotten that creative. I think probably the most creative I've gotten with the next gen mod is I've painted a Chevy Impala for an offline series, but just never anything that these people can't find a way to do, I guess.
I'm trying to think what the most creative one I did was. The one that jumps to mind for me was for the next gen mod. It was Dodge Intrepid that I ended up painting one of the circa 2001, 2002 Dodge Intrepid templates. It was pretty good looking cars off of that particular template. Outside of that, I don't think I've gotten super crazy with manufacturers.
Well, it is always fun to try, so who knows? Maybe one day we'll be figuring out something else completely brand new.
All right, driver's going to look to get into a rhythm here now as we're working our second caution in the early going of the evening. Robert Breedlove, Denny Carroll, they're going to be the front row. They're yet to come to pit road the entirety of this race. Looks like Steven Brandstetter, Jeffrey Elliott, they're going to be row 2. Kelly Causey, who started on the pole. Nate Balser, who started on the outside of the front row with him. They're going to be row 3 now with RJ Cabana, Chris Van Vliet, Ed Finley, and Greg Palmer. Your top 10. 32 drivers remain. All 32 still on the lead lap. Only driver out of the race, Perry Bond. Lap 11 completed. Lap 12 begins our second restart of the night.
See if they can at least calm things down. Maybe that last incident on the restart probably was a bit of a wake-up call. We don't need to go too crazy on the start. There's a block there by Denny Carroll to maintain the lead from the inside.
Got himself a good launch from the outside of the front row. Cleared Breedlove before they got to the center of 1 and 2. That might have been by design. That might have been what Joey Logano coins the okie dokie, because consider this. Both Denny Carroll and Robert Breedlove, they're mates for the moment, because they're going to have to come to pit road sooner than everybody else if this thing trends green. So why not get each other lined up nose to tail here, get yourself organized now, so that way you don't have to try to find each other later on if you have to come to pit road together.
It's a good plan. I also had no idea Logano called it the okie dokie.
Yes, he did.
We got 3, I guess, mini trains of 4 cars. One on the inside, one in the middle, one on the top.
Got some fast cars up in that third lane. That's Greg Palmer leading the charge in the 22. Grant Wesley right behind him. One of the few Dodges in the field. Rodney Sullins, Ken Roberts is up there as well. John Godfrey, who started shotgun on the field here tonight, knocking on the door of the top 10. We are about 3 wide. I think it's around the 8th position right now. Kelly Causey's got them double wide up around 4th. And now here comes that third lane. Man, they got a run from the middle of the tri-oval all the way to turn 1.
That they did, and that's going to make for a really crowded battle up here at the front. Even those cars that are running near the back of the pack that are damaged from that last caution, they're not totally losing the draft just yet.
There are a couple, it looks like, on the interval that might have lost. Nate Balser. Was that a scheduled pit road dive? Yeah, it looks like it. From 8th place.
Somebody else behind him as well, Gary Heiser.
Heiser coming in too. Now, he was one of the drivers I was going to comment on that looks like the damage he got back in the first wreck has got him off the pace. Same for Bob Sire in the 27. But I'm not sure about this strategy call for the 79 of Nate Balser. He came to pit road all by his lonesome, and he was on pit road under this most recent yellow. So there's no way he was short on fuel.
Not too sure what was going on with him there. I mean, that's not the greatest strategy to have, too, if that was planned at a super speedway style racetrack, because when you're all by yourself, you're not going to catch up to the draft. You're not going to get any of the draft help, so the rest of the pack is going to get. So you're going to be by yourself when you're trying to make your way around everybody, but it looks like he's not even, I don't believe he's back on the racetrack yet, so he's going to go a lap down here.
Yeah, so maybe something a little more untoward going on his end. Feeling it's safer to peel off the racetrack, come to pit road, park in the pit stall until whatever he has to deal with is resolved, and then get back out there. As the battle's going to be for the lead here, and that's RJ Cabana on the outside. Oh, no!
Boy!
Brandstetter around. He's going to get Finley as well as Ken Roberts. Finley up and over. Oh, look out.
Oh, boy.
7 of Morrison came barreling in.
Got a barrel rolling car right there. That's the 20, I think?
And that's the 80. Oh, look
80.
out.
Couldn't quite read the number. There was a lot of damage on the side of that car.
It was pretty much unreadable. Third caution of the night. Another massive wreck. And another one pretty close up towards the front of the field. At this time started with the 510 of Steven Brandstetter. RJ Cabana managed to just barely edge out ahead for the race lead at the time that caution came out. Let's take you back, take a look at what happened in this one. And a lot of contact, a lot of damage sustained, and it looks like our garage area is slowly starting to pile up as we've just now approached 50 laps to go. Just a real tight draft here going into 3, maybe some checkup.
Yeah. A couple cars got a little bit spooked, I think, by that checkup, and that was all it took. I mean, they were 2 wide as well, so that's what it had to be. There was no real 3-4 wide action or anything like that.
Saw Josh 2 in that, Katie Huntsbury, Garland Oaks. Number of drivers collected up in this one. Jessica Lorley, I believe, was in it. Josh Slocum. We mentioned Ken Roberts as the wreck was happening. Here's a look at it again. Watch how tight the bumpers are in this aerial view going into 3. Yeah, it kind of looked like right there as they were chain bumping. Second car on that inside line, Robert Breedlove, got pushed so hard into the back of the leader, Denny Carroll, that it kind of pushed him back into the third car, back into the fourth car, and it just led to the stack up.
And again, right at the front of the field with so many cars in that tight area of space, that can be all it takes to really upend a lot of races.
It's one of the beauties and one of the curses of the Men Cup 2019 mod. It is one of, in my opinion, the easiest cars to push in. But then you end up having drivers get way too comfortable with pushing, and it leads to incidents like this. This is a look from the back end of the 55 of Ken Roberts.
A little bit tough to tell whether any contact was made from behind.
Heard him downshift, grab a gear, and get going again. This was a scary moment for a number of drivers. I saw the number 7 of Stephen Morrison entering the vicinity of the wreck, and he kind of all out Ricky Bobbied it. Watch this. To the bottom. Shoot the gap.
Get through that, McQueen.
Makes it through, no contact. That's quite a journey through a massive wreck there in 3 and 4 for the driver, the number 7.
Yeah, definitely credit where it's due. I mean, that's not an easy thing to do either, because you're making that very steep transition from the apron to the banking of the racetrack. So impressive that he was able to pull that off.
This is looking in the second half of the field, and a lot of stacking up as they were trying to get on the brakes for what was happening up ahead. Alex Moe, Ulysses Sandoval ended up getting together. There's Brandstetter turned around, who the wreck started with. Craig Hagley backing his car up as well. A lot of drivers collected up in this one, and we now currently have 4 drivers out of the race. We already documented previously the early retirement of Perry Bone. We can now also add in the names of Gary Heiser. We saw him come to pit lane. Looks like that car was too badly damaged for him to continue after being involved in the early first wreck. Whatever the issue was for Nate Balser, he has retired out of the race. We saw that unscheduled stop for him. And Ed Finley, who had that wild barrel roll ride in this most recent caution, has also retired from the event. So just like that, we are down to 29 of our original 33 drivers still running. All drivers still on the lead lap, but while we're also racking up a list of drivers that are out of the race, we're also racking up a list of drivers that this is still very early on in the race, and they're going to have to deal with lingering damage for the duration of it.
That they are. I mean, you see, I think Paglia is probably one of the more prominent examples. You see how much damage is on the rear end of that car that he sustained in, I believe, the second wreck of the race. So it's tough when you have this incident this early on. We're only about to reach lap 20, I think. So there's still a really good chunk of time left in this race that these drivers are going to have that damage for a while if they want to get as good of a finish as they possibly can.
Now, the only thing that I will say about Mark Paglia is in regards to this mod, it was a Talladega Nights mega team race that I was a part of. I believe I was part of Team Dodge, and I was involved in a wreck, had the fuel cell showing in the back end of the car just like him, brought it home in 6th, so there's still hope.
There is. Definitely not impossible, just gonna be an obstacle that you have to deal with. But you know, the longer this race goes, the more further along you get into this thing, the more you learn how to deal with the damage that you've got on that race car. So definitely don't doubt that Paglia can pull something off here.
Well, I mentioned that there's a limited number of Dodges in the field here tonight, and Chris Elliott broke up the set. We were going to have an all Dodge front row, but he made the dive to pit lane here, coming to the 1 to green, turns the lead over to fellow Dodge Grant Wesley, and that NOS number 88. He'll share the front row now with Rodney Sullins, Greg Palmer, Kelly Causey, going to be in row 2 with RJ Cabana and Mark Paglia. Behind them in row 3, Chris Van Vliet, Robert Breedlove, Denny Carroll, and Bob Dixon going to complete the top 10. I was going to mention just before that wreck took place there, I've thought it in my head numerous times when I see him in the field, but he actually played into the punt tonight in driver intros, that 889 of RJ Cabana. I've thought about that song Copacabana, and he mentioned it tonight in his driver intro, so there you go. Now, I guess that gives us free reign to use it in broadcasts.
Incredible. I have to keep that one in the back of my mind for future reference for sure.
Bit of an extended stay on pit road for Chris Elliott and the 9 car. He should be able to catch up to the field before they go green. 20 laps about to be completed. Working our 3rd yellow flag of the night. Again, if you're just joining us, 29 of our original 33 drivers are still running. It's kind of been a who's who up at the front with these cautions and the strategy of pitting on certain laps of the caution period. Right now, most laps led would go to our pole sitter Kelly Causey at 7. Danny Carroll has led 5, Robert Breedlove has led 3, and then there's a mixture of drivers that have led either 1 or 2 laps. Grant Wesley will be one of those drivers to lead 2 laps here in just a moment as he brings us down through the exit of the tri-oval underneath the flag stand, and we're back racing here at Talladega Nights Superspeedway.
At 9:31 is already thinking about going 3 wide. Maybe he thought about it for a moment, but fell back in line there.
See all the cars bogged down there as they upshift to the final 4th gear, the drafting gear at these super speedways. To your point there, Robert Breedlove trying to venture up to that outer groove, but doesn't look like really anybody else was interested in going up there with him. He'll remain in line behind Paglia.
Middle line right now looks like it had the advantage, at least for the trial. Oh my goodness.
One up and over, catching air. That was Jessica Loralee. Josh 2, Craig Hagley, Alex Moe all collected. Someone got turned around in the middle of the pack, and about the second half of the field got swept up into it as a result.
Well, when it rains, it pours at Talladega Nights.
Rear end damage on the back of Stephen Morrison, who managed to avoid that last wreck. Jeffrey Elliott in this. Back end damage on Jessica Loralee Chevrolet as well. She caught some air, almost did a blowover going into turn 1. And I believe Chris Elliott, who had that extended stay on pit road, start at the rear of the field, was also swept up in this one. Most of our wrecks so far here tonight as well have been corner wrecks or wrecks happening just before the entry to the turn. Oh, maybe some bumper grab right there. Craig Hagley into the back of Stephen Morrison.
And the way he shot up into the wall made me think bumper grab.
Loralee goes for a wild ride here. Back into the car, comes up off the racing surface. Garland Oaks does a good job of skirting through. Josh 2 was in the middle of all that, though, as was Jeffrey Elliott. And a third of the way through the race, sees our 4th caution of the evening as everybody is coming down pit road here. This would have been just a little past when they would have had to come to pit road had we gone green from the start of the race. So everybody planning, at least at this point in time, for once they complete this pit stop, only having to come to pit road hopefully only one other time. They should be within the window to make it the rest of the way on one more pit stop.
At least what the hope is, but of course, when you have as many wrecks as we have, if we continue to have more cautions like this, I feel like we're going to see a good handful more trips down pit road here.
So a third of the way through this race, Kelly Causey is going to re-inherit the lead. We're going to step aside for a quick FRN race break. We'll be back here when they're ready to go back green flag racing. Halfway approaches here tonight in the first race of the 6th season of the Talladega Nights Shake and Bake Series. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back after this. welcome back to Flatout Racing Network's coverage of tonight's season opener of the 6th season of the Talladega Nights Shake and Bake Series. Getting ready to go back green with 40 laps to go. Robert Breedlove and Denny Carroll back on the front row. They've been on an alternative fuel strategy to everybody else in the field. As we get ready for our 4th restart of the night, Katie Huntsbury and Stephen Brandstetter, they're going to be in row 2 with Jeffrey Elliott and Ronnie Sullins in the 3rd row. 28 drivers getting ready to take this green flag as Craig Hagley, the most recent retiree after the last wreck. 40 laps to go, at least one more pit stop these drivers are going to have to make between now and the checkered flag.
Still have yet to see kind of a really long green flag run. I mean, we've seen a few decently long runs, but plenty of wrecks has been the story of this race so far. So we'll see if these drivers kind of ease up a little bit here as they realize there's still a good chunk of time left in this race. We still have over halfway left to go.
Robert Breedlove, Denny Carroll throwing some blocks there. They saw the momentum in the 3rd line with Steve Brandstetter, moved up to stifle that momentum, and then immediately moved back down to the bottom in front of Jeffrey Elliott.
This feels like the area of the track where they've been wrecking the most, but it looks like they're able to make it through clean this time around.
Look at some of these cars up here right now wearing the wounds of war here this evening. Mark Paglia back at bumper gone. Katie Huntsbury a little bit further back, looks about the same on the rear. Brandstetter was involved in a wreck 2 cautions ago, but he's up here 3rd on this outside line. As Jeffrey Elliott trying to make something happen with help from Grant Wesley. So far, alongside for 3rd on RJ Cabana.
Cabana's been up front here pretty consistently so far. Keeping my eye on him too as we get later on in this thing, if he's able to keep that car near the front.
Caution's out. We've got a wreck, I believe, in the back. Oh, no,
See the caution.
Nope. Never mind. We are still green. I thought I heard squealing wheels, and I thought I saw the yellow lights. So I'm going deaf and blind at the same time. Help. Team Wrecking Ball teammates up there on the 3rd lane. Javier Negron in the Tide Ride. Ulysses Sandoval. Fellow Toyota Camry pushing him. Dennis McCarthy's also up there. That car was up and over, barrel rolling in turn 1 earlier on tonight. Looks like he's none the worse for wear. Still up to speed, still competitive.
Talking about Paglia too, missing that back bumper. He's still competitive up there in about 6th place, I want to say. I think that 5th. No, sorry, I'm right. It is 6th.
John Godfrey right behind him, who started shotgun on the field. P7 right now for the, I'm going to mispronounce this. I think it's Schluter Systems. I think that's how it's pronounced.
Sounds right. We can see past those trailers. I can read the side of that car.
Trying to get something going there. Grant Wesley, Javier Negron, Ulysses Sandoval. Looks like Palmer and Sullen's going to move up there with him. So Palmer will lead the charge from the 4th position. Pulls to the right rear of RJ Cabana. They're looking 3 wide further back. That's Chris Elliott up there with Garland Oaks. Whoa, Paglia!
Bit of a shot to the bottom there, but it looks like he's able to keep it straight. So we'll see how he can merge it back onto the track. He'll do so in a 3 wide situation, but is able to stay clear of everybody else.
I'm not sure if he got help or if he went down there just to give up positions, knowing that his car might be just a little bit off the pace with his damage to everybody else. If it was contact, that was a heck of a save.
I mean, the way he was racing up at the front, I don't think it was his car being damaged or anything like that that slowed him down.
mentioned about the hitbox of the Men Cup 2019, how easy it is to push. When you don't have a visible back bumper, that maybe does make it a little bit more difficult.
Probably sketches some people out a little bit.
Oh,
oh
block
boy!
from Palmer. Puts Chris Elliott in the wall, and there goes Ulysses Sandoval up and over. Another massive wreck, this time into turn 3. Slocum's up and over. Causey went for a ride. Van Vliet is in the middle of all this. Brandstetter's upside down in his roof. I can't make out who that is further up. That might be Katie Huntsbury, but I'm not certain. We had at least a half dozen, maybe more drivers up and over, and a couple of drivers are going to have to call that toe to pit road.
That is about as Talladega of a wreck as it gets.
The Adidas Chevrolet of Chris Van Vliet all torn up. Looks like pit road is closed. He was going to come down to the attention of his crew. Yep, that was, I believe, the second car I saw turtled over in the middle of 3 and 4. Katie Huntsbury, that New York Yankees Chevrolet. Alex Moe, man, that car is bent up on just about every side, including the roof. And there were a lot more involved in this. Brian Wolf, he was in the first wreck of the night, had front end damage, back end damage sustained in this one. I'm trying to find the 96 of Ulysses Sandoval because he was also in the middle of all that. There he is. Yeah, a lot of damage on that car. Roof is caved in.
He was just about at the epicenter of that one, so.
Saw Kelly Causey leaving pit road. There he is, no back bumper on the pole sitter. Robert Spring will stay out to lead a lap. A lot to unpack here from this one.
I lost count of how many cars went up and over, I'll be honest.
There were at least 5 or 6. That much I know. There could have been more. And this that we're going to see all translates from up at the front of the field. We'll show it a little bit later here in the replays, but it was a block of Palmer from the second lane to the third lane. It puts Chris Elliott in the wall, and then as cars are moving down to give room, I believe that was Ken Roberts, shoots to the left. I don't know if he bumper grabbed or not, but he gets Sandoval in the passenger side door, and it's just on from there. See if the chopper cam gets it all in view here. Watch the orange car leading the middle line. Up at the front, moves up, puts the block on the 9 of Chris Elliott. They hook together, and then as everyone's trying to avoid, okay, it looked like maybe Ken Roberts may have breathed the throttle a little. Kelly Causey closed up the distance quickly. He spins the 55 down into the 96, and then nobody had anywhere to go in that outside line as they approached the entrance of 3.
Well, that one again in slow-mo. I think what I saw is the 9 car goes up into the outside wall, and then I think it's just a chain reaction for that, or after the block was made by the 22 up at the front. Yeah, it was just a chain reaction from that point, and then the 9 trying to get out of everybody's way, and then I think it was just a reaction to the reaction that sent everybody else up and around.
Steven Brenstetter got spun further back there. Slocum gets hit from Bob Dixon into Chris Van Vliet. Katie Huntsbury, he got hit from behind. I think that was maybe by Josh too. Alex Moe's already got roof damage, so he already went up and over or had a car on top of his. Let's look a little further back because I think, playing off what you were talking about, I think we had a reaction to the reaction to the reaction.
Oh my goodness.
So here's looking at Alex Moe in the 48. So right here, yeah, you see Brian Wolf Katie Huntsbury and Josh too, all trying to scrub off speed with the use of the wall, but it sends them all dominoing forward into Alex Moe.
Got nailed from behind.
Josh
And
Slocum
not
barrel
quite
rolling there.
clear.
That's Jeffrey Elliott in the 56. A lot of damage on his machine. Let's see how he was involved in this. Oh, he gets a hit from behind from Van Vliet in the 10. That is a lot of damaged goods as we get ready to enter into the second half of this race.
We're just past the halfway point by this, and we've already got so many junked cars. A lot of cars that are going to still be on the track, but have damage that they're going to have to work around. And probably, I wouldn't be surprised if we had a few more names added to our DNF list.
We do indeed. We can add in the drivers Kelly Causey, who started this race from the pole position, led a total of 9 laps here tonight. Jeffrey Elliott, Josh Slocum, and Steven Brandstetter all out of the race. Looks like Katie Huntsbury, who was another of those cars that was upside down, had to call the tow. They got that car repaired enough to get him back out there, but he lost a lap due to that towing time. He will more than likely, I don't know if he'll get the lap back here under this caution, or he'll have to wait for a future lucky dog. And with all these damaged cars, this is kind of a bad thing on two fronts. It's bad, obviously, for the drivers that have the damage, because there's a good chance they're not going to be up to speed in the hunt for the victory tonight. The other thing that it's a problem for is the drivers that are still up to speed, because the more drivers we have that are damaged and off the pace, the smaller the pack is going to be of the drivers that are up to speed. And we know in super speedway racing, the smaller the pack, the tougher it is for the drivers in the second half of that pack to generate energy and move forward. The bigger the pack you have, the more air is moving around, the easier it is to kind of manipulate that air and work your way forward. So it's going to be a tougher task here for a bunch of these drivers that are going to find themselves at a lack of track position, provided just how big of a pack we have up to speed on this restart.
I think that's something that, you know, in the first race of the season, you might as well work on how to race in a smaller field now, kind of get a little bit of in-season practice, I guess you could call it, because there's still plenty of time left in the season, and a lot of drivers that want to start this season off with a good result, they're going to have to try and work around racing in a smaller pack of up-to-speed cars.
You mentioned that as well with the limited 7 races in the regular season for drivers that are not going to reach the checkered flag here tonight. I mean, any driver that took the green flag here this evening is capable of winning a super speedway race, but a bunch of them not going to even get to the checkered flag this evening. They're going to find themselves next week coming into the second race of the season at the bottom of the point standings. Got a lot of ground that they're going to have to start making up as soon as next week. I would say, obviously, maybe a little too early on in the season to consider a must-win situation, but you could definitely at least be looking at a solid top 5, top 10 to combat the DNF this evening.
Absolutely, and it won't be that much longer before we are starting to talk about must-win situations, so you're still in this race. Try to get that win, and try to at the very least, get as good of a finish as you possibly can while you still got a chance.
We are still not within the window to be able to make it home on fuel. One more pit stop between now and the checkered flag, as we will hit 30 laps to go here this evening. It's about 4 or 5 drivers in the field right there with that shot at the back end of the race cars that have no back bumper. So far, so good down the back straightaway, it looks like, for drivers potentially being up to speed. We'll have to wait and see once they complete this lap, though, and are at full song. who's got that dreaded aero damage and who doesn't. Looks like Brian Wolf may be rapidly falling back there. Jessica Loreley, Mark Paglia, a lot of those visibly damaged race cars. Looks like they're losing that valuable 2 to 3 miles per hour of straight line speed that they need.
And then Carroll maybe thought for a brief moment about looking 3 wide for the lead. Instead, he'll stay in line behind the native RJ Cabana there.
Rodney Sullivan's going to move to the race lead. First time he's been out in front here tonight. He's going to get a push to the point from Grant Wesley. They both might have themselves clear of that inside line as they cross the start-finish line here. Rodney Sullivan's tomorrow night going to be looking for his series-leading 5th win on the season in the ASR Super Speedway Series. Had 3 in a row back in the early portion of the season and followed up with a 4th victory this most recent Sunday night. Talk about drivers and unique manufacturers. We talked about the Chevy Chevelle. How about another GM car back there? Taking a peek 3 wide is Bob Sire, better known as Pumpkin, that Cadillac, trying to make something happen on his lonesome, that U.S. Army machine.
Well, maybe a little bit of bump there to the 10 car. Forced him out of line.
Yeah, it looked like maybe with the damage he got in that most recent wreck, Chris Van Vliet might be a little bit off the pace. And to your point, they may have shuffled him out, realizing that he wasn't quite up to speed. And he's going to fall to the tail end here of the lead pack. Cabana got himself clear on the inside line. As soon as he did, jumped up in front of Rodney Sullivan. So that puts Denny Carroll now the leader of the inside line. And not a whole lot of help down there. It's just him, Robert Breedlove, and Javier Negron.
Like anyone who's on the bottom is kind of just waiting to pick their moment. Little bit of separation now for this top 3 that might let the rest of the pack reel them in.
Carroll and Roberts side by side for 4th, about a car length off of that top trio. So they've got it settled at least for the moment. Let's check towards the back here. Looks like the 10 of Chris Van Vliet's come to pit road. All 3 of these drivers have been involved in wrecks tonight. Ulysses Sandoval, Brian Wolf, Katie Huntsbury, they're all working together. They may close up here on Stephen Morrison as well in the 7, who's all by his lonesome. Looks like 17, 18 drivers going to be up here in this lead group. Jury is out in a couple of them of if they're up to speed or not. Bob Dixon and Josh Tu trying to stay in touch. A couple of drivers came to pit road here in the last couple of laps. We saw the 10 of Chris Van Vliet. They've pushed him behind the wall. Alex Moe in the 48 also came to pit road a couple laps ago, and he is out of the race. So we are down to 22 drivers that are still running, 21 of them on the lead lap, and that last time by can confirm 18 of them up in this lead pack currently.
Just shows you how much harder it is with only 18 cars in this lead pack. Now everybody is just running single file.
I mean, they know they can't make it on fuel, so maybe is this a case now of, all right, we've let the racetrack play its part into the outcome of this race in a big way. Now let's see what pit road has in store. Let's ride a bit here. Let's not tear up any more equipment. Let's at least get ourselves to that final trip to pit road, and then we'll up the ante again.
Could be a good call, too, with how things have played out so far in this race. All these cautions here with a massive amount of cars involved. So everybody's probably thinking within the next few laps they might start having thoughts about coming over to pit road.
went back green with 30 laps remaining. So we'd be roughly looking at around lap 55 when drivers would absolutely have to come to pit road, maybe a little sooner for RJ Cabana, since he has led most of this run so far. That would put them right around 10, 11 laps to go, and that's interesting because it's right on a number where drivers would fluctuate between a recommended can and a recommended can and a half. If you're able to go 10 laps, you only got to put a can of fuel in it. If you have to go 11 or higher, you got to get that extra half can in the tank to make that just that single lap. And for some drivers back here, you got to wonder if they can maybe save that one lap to extend to around lap 56's completion to then have less time on pit road putting fuel in the race car.
Absolutely. That extra half can of fuel, it adds up. Those extra few seconds you spend on pit road getting more fuel in the race car, it can be the difference between whether or not you can end up in a good spot on track in terms of track position to try to compete for the win. So no small thing that we're talking about here.
Mentioned with those early cautions, it's been a who's who up here at the front of the field. Kelly Causey, who is out of the race but started from the pole position, had the bonus point for most laps led at 9. RJ Cabana has now taken command of that. First driver to hit double-digit laps led here tonight. That was his 11th circuit out in front. Look through the field here at some of these drivers that you wonder, how are they up to speed? That's, I guess, the beauty of moderate damage. No back bumper on the 28 of Mark Paglia. He just ran his fastest lap of the race that last time by in 9th position. Got Jessica Lorley back here as well with no back bumper. Tail end of this pack in the 14th position. And right ahead of her is Bob Sire. First couple of restarts, he actually lost the draft, and those cautions saved him, not only in the fact that he was able to catch back up to the pack, but being nowhere near the wrecks, he was able to get through unscathed, and here he is in the 13th spot.
A little bit of quiet consistency for that 27 car.
Sometimes you got to make your own luck when it comes to super speedway racing. One thing I'm noticing with this single file, as opposed to what we saw when they were side by side, is I'm seeing some space, some distance between the front and the back bumpers. We saw checkups lead to a couple of our early yellows. These drivers here all running the same line are going to get massive runs on each other. Specifically, 3rd, 4th, 5th car in line going to get that tremendous tow with the slipstream. So they're making sure that they don't have that checkup going into a corner, because I believe so far here tonight, every single one of our previous 5 cautions have all been corner wrecks. You look at a couple of other drivers back here in the latter portion of the top 5. Ken Roberts, who we saw get a piece of one of those wrecks earlier on, coming off a victory this past Thursday night in the Rolling Thunder Gaming Talladega Challenge Series. We're going to be following him the remainder of the regular season. He's only got, I believe, 3 regular season races left to go to get up into the top 20 in points. The race that he went into and won this past Thursday night, he had only accumulated 14 points in 2 starts. So he's got quite a task ahead of him, but he's got at least that one in the win column. Now it's just all about accumulating points and climbing your way through the standings. And how about Garland Oaks? Good run here tonight for the driver out of Team Wrecking Ball, that Dr. Pepper Toyota. We've seen him in a couple of the wrecks tonight, but we haven't seen him get major damage. They've really kind of been harmless spins. So, you know, little bumps, little scrapes, not going to hurt the car any, and he's currently in line for a top 5. looks like Robert Spring, who right now is at the tail end of this lead pack line. 15th place last time across the stripe. Has the fastest lap here tonight. 47.834, equating to 199.961 miles per hour. So close to getting that 200 mile per hour lap time.
Considering how many cars are left on the track, I don't think we're going to see lap times near that again, but impressive nonetheless. Wonder if he knows that too. He's probably not even thinking about it, but it might be something that you're thinking about at least under a caution. You're seeing your fastest lap time, and you're like, man, if only I could get to 200.
Yeah, you definitely are able to check your F1 to see your lap time. You don't know until after the race, or if you're able to see it like we are here as it's currently happening, what it is in comparison to everybody else on the racetrack. So
just an exercise in patience right now for these guys up here at the front.
And depending on circumstances, let's say that they can't stretch it to lap 56, that they absolutely have to take on a can and a half of fuel. The minimum of what you have of you having to take that on is 11 laps. The maximum 15 laps. We have now entered into that window. So should you absolutely have to take on a can and a half of fuel, we could see drivers on pit road as soon as this next time by. It's really going to be interesting to see just how much of a split we maybe see. How big of a window is it of who comes to pit road when, dependent on just how far they can go.
These cars are about to catch Ulysses Sandoval down a lap.
It's going to be a pack of cars there. Lap car of Huntsbury, Brian Wolf, and Stephen Morrison. Three of these drivers on the tail end of the lead lap. One of them currently one lap down.
And I mean, credit to those four drivers. Obviously, it can be a pretty demoralizing feeling when you're behind the wheel and you know your race car doesn't really have the speed to keep up with the rest of the pack anymore. But with this being such a short regular season, you want to try to get any points that you possibly can. Every point matters, every position matters. So at the very least, keep doing what these guys are doing. Just stay out on the racetrack, hold out for as long as you can, salvage whatever points you can out of this race, and then try to come out firing on all cylinders for the next race.
Bob Dixon's hit pit road, so that gives us our idea of when drivers are going to have to make the dive onto pit lane. Normally, he's kind of our measuring stick, comes to pit road a couple laps prior than everybody else. And going back to your point, you kind of look at some of these drivers up here that are more than likely going to finish outside of the top 15, but inside of the top 20. If you end up being, say, a Brian Wolf or Ulysses Sandoval or a Stephen Morrison here, and it gets to the end of the regular season and you find yourself 1 point below the 12th in the standings cut line, you could go all the way back to this race and think, man, if I had not stayed in this race and just finished in that position, that might have been the spot. That might have been the point that I needed.
Those long-term ramifications, again, only the first race, but it all matters.
Here we go. Got a couple lap cars in here as well, including Ulysses Sandoval. Oh, we got some spinners. Roberts locked it up and spun. Breedlove spins it out, and he's going to catch Sandoval. That's going to hold up Robert Spring. All this on pit road. There will be no caution for these off-track incidents.
You mentioned with a handful of lap cars involved in there, that makes it very interesting too. That's going to slow down all those pit stop attempts.
So that first pack, mission unsuccessful in coming down together, being clean on pit road and all leaving together. They're going to lose a lot of valuable time. Now let's see about this second group. I believe we're making the dive this time by.
And Cabana.
Oh, Paglia!
Oh, Paglia!
And Javier Negron, and RJ Cabana.
Oh, that's huge.
Now the question is, are they anywhere close enough to the racing surface that this will bring out a yellow? We're still green right now as the 28 pulls back out onto the racetrack. No, we are not going to get a caution. Closest car is on the back straightaway. I'd be worried about this 28. Can he make it back around another lap?
He's out of fuel? Is he running out? Is he potentially running out of fuel here? This is such a long way around the racetrack, and watch out here. Do not be Kevin LePage. He's going to get out of everybody's way.
It's hard to tell if he's running out of fuel or not. Just when it looks like his speed's decreasing, he's able to get back into the throttle. He might be clutching it right there, actually, trying to save enough fuel to get around another circuit. And I believe this is where the race lead is going to cycle around to. Bedlam on pit road for both groups. And now it has split the field up massively. Javier Negron was having a great night, but he was caught up in the incident at the entry of pit road with that second pack. And it looks like he's retired from the race.
That just completely upends how that battle at the front was going. I mean, we talked about RJ Cabana, how much he was in front of this race. He had the bonus point for most laps led, and he ends up getting spun out on the entry of pit road.
We had 13, 14 drivers in the lead pack before the pit stops began. We've got a pack of 3 right now with Sullins, Godfrey, and Wesley. You saw there bottom of your screen. Paglia still on the apron trying to make his way back around to pit lane. Looks like this trio is going to latch on to the top trio, Palmer, Carroll, and Oaks. You've got the lap car of Josh 2 right now in the 16th position. I believe he's the first car 1 lap down. Is Dennis McCarthy on pit road. Looks like he might have gotten hit with a speeding penalty. And then this is 9th on back with a couple of lap cars intermingled into this group as well. Actually, correction, 7th on back. And scoring right now is showing this group about 6+ seconds behind the race leaders. Barring a caution, I don't think there's any chance of them getting back up into the conversation for this win.
And sooner or later, we're going to hit the point of no return where a caution would pretty much bring out the end of the race.
That would be the completion of lap 61 onto 62. Since we do have lap machines, it would add the extra lap onto the caution period. So we're about 2-3 laps away from that window that you were just talking about. And now comes the tough task that I was speaking about earlier about energy and being able to create a run. There are only 6 drivers up here in this lead pack. So you look at a Grant Wesley, Greg Palmer, Denny Carroll, and Garland Oaks back there, you're going to have some kind of communication, maybe even back off of the car in front of you to be able to generate a run. You're more than likely all locked up bumper to bumper right now, not going to have enough energy to make a move to the outside for the race lead. I am a little surprised, too, that Rodney Sullins is leading this group in the middle. You'd think as we start getting closer to the end of this race, he'd want to cover the bottom. He's leaving a whole lane open to the inside.
Probably what he's going to start thinking about doing as we get closer and closer to the end of it. Maybe with about 4 or 3 laps left, he might try and go to the inside. I think the 7-Eleven car right now might be pressuring him just a little bit. But that being John Godfrey, but of course, at some point, sooner or later, you got to know somebody's going to try and got to run there.
Heartbreak there for RJ Cabana. Led 20 laps in this race, and now closing on 5 to go. Going to fall a lap down after being involved in an incident at the entry of pit road during the cycle of green flag pit stops around the 10 to go mark. One of these 6 drivers, barring anything happening, is going to win this race. and is going to lock themselves into the playoffs this season. They'll be able to go into the remaining 6 regular season races worry-free, provided they remain in the top 20 in the point standings. Sullins, Godfrey, Wesley, Palmer, Carroll, and Oaks hit the line for 5 laps to go in tonight's season opener. And now comes the question, Jack, as we've entered into that point of return. How long do you wait? We had a race this past Thursday night where they were coming around to 2 to go. Caution came out. They were in the tri-oval. No time to be able to make a move, and then that final lap under pacing, you didn't have enough time to be able to make the move, generate the energy necessary for a run. How long is too long if you're these drivers behind the 38?
I have no idea how to definitively answer that. I think it really just depends on the logic, because some drivers will think, oh, I want to be in front because if the caution comes out and I'm leading the race, then that's the end of it. And the caution, if assuming one does come out, it might not even be amongst these 6 drivers. It could be for something that happens somewhere else on the racetrack. But at the same time, maybe you feel like your best shot is to try and make a pass for the lead and make it happen at the very end of the last lap so that the drivers behind you that you're passing have no opportunity to try and fight you back for the race to win.
Mark Paglia's wounded car out of the race. He'll finish 21st, but take a look at this. This is by design. Look at the gap. 2, 3 car lengths from Wesley up to Godfrey. This is what I was talking about. They're lined up. They've got that space. They'll have the draft and be able to get a run. Wesley is leading that charge, but he's not closing up the distance yet. When does he pull the trigger, plant the throttle, and try to drag this quartet up around the top duo?
At the very least, I would say maybe wait until there's 2 to go before you pull the trigger.
Gonna be some slower traffic up ahead of the leaders. Looks like Bob Sire is up there.
They can exploit that too if they want. If as soon
Certainly
as the leaders hit lap traffic, they can. That's when they can say go, go, go and try to work their way around these top 2 while they're stuck behind lap cars. Is one of them pitting? No, they're gonna try and pass each other.
Getting racy for 3rd place. Palmer said, I want to go. I don't want to hang back any longer. And Denny Carroll is with him. Two laps remaining. This is going to be tight as Katie Huntsbury trying to stay out of the leader's way.
That might mess with you mentally too. The lap car in the way.
Look how that kind of stalled out, that run by Palmer and Carroll. Wesley was able to get back around them off the draft of the 7-11 and the 38. Can they get around to the white flag is going to be the question. There are a couple more cars up ahead. These drivers are on the tail end of the lead lap. Robert Breedlove in 11th, Bob Sire in 12th.
These 4 drivers, I think they're trying to set themselves up again.
White flag. Whatever happens, happens now. Caution wouldn't end it. We're going to come back to the checkers. Wesley looks to the inside on Godfrey.
Here they go. It's go time.
Sullins is going to cover the bottom. Palmer is going to give a push to the 7-11, but Wesley clears into the runner-up spot. It's like the traffic's going to move up out of the way. Let these 6 settle it out. Go to the top side of Brian Wolf. Oh, they're double wide ahead of him.
Oh, my.
There's going to be nowhere to go. Sullins to the bottom. Wesley's going to take it 4. Here we come to the stripe. Could be a photo finish. Rodney Sullins, by a wheel, is going to get the first win on the season.
What a move. That was so tense for them to try to make that decision to go 4 wide with the lap cars, but I feel like they kind of felt like they had to do it because with those lap cars in the way, you really have no choice.
It was a battle for the win and a battle for 11th in that 4 wide formation coming to the checkered flag. but Rodney Sullins was able to hold off a hard-charging Grant Wesley, who got his front bumper up alongside the 3 on the side of Rodney Sullins' car, but just needed maybe a little bit more racetrack. And Rodney Sullins is going to be the first one to celebrate in the 6th season of the Talladega Nights Shake and Bake Series. He locks himself into the playoffs with the checkered flag here tonight.
And it was a great run by Solons, too, because he kind of inherited the lead after the incident involving RJ Cabana at the front of pit road. So great job by Solons. Once he assumed the lead, he never really looked back.
You think about it here tonight as well. 5 cautions, 5 massive pileups. One name that I don't think we mentioned at all involved in any of those wrecks was Rodney Sullins. Execution on the track, execution on pit road, and he's the one burning it down here tonight at Talladega Nights Superspeedway.
I'm going to be honest, I think it's a good thing when you're not mentioned during a replay of any crashes.
Very much so.
Fly under everybody else's radar, and you're there at the end.
The only time you need to be mentioned is when the checker flag is out. Scoring is showing 25 1/1000ths of a second. The interval from Sullins to Wesley coming to the stripe. Top 3 completed by John Godfrey, 58 1/1000ths of a second. And let's see if we can show you just how close that was when they crossed the line. That's the interval right there. Maybe about a hood, I think you could say. Rodney got him by. And you see John Godfrey, he stuck with Rodney almost the entirety of that final run, played the defense, was the drafting partner, and ultimately might have been the decider into Sullins edging out Wesley for this win here this evening. What a way to close out the night. Photo finish to kick off the first race of the brand new season. We'll be talking with our top 3 finishers here in just a moment. Greg Palmer is going to close out the first race of the season with a top 5 in 4th. Denny Carroll in 5th and Garland Oaks in 6th. Those 6 were up in that lead pack in the closing stages. Chris Elliott will finish 7th. Jessica Lorley in 8th. 9th was Ken Roberts. And 10th place was Robert Spring, the last driver to finish on the lead lap. We saw that side-by-side battle to the line between Bob Sire and Robert Breedlove that put the leaders 4 wide. Sire wins that battle. Breedlove will finish 12th. Bob Dixon was 13th with Josh 2 and RJ Cabana, who led the most laps tonight in your top 15. Stephen Morrison, Dennis McCarthy, Brian Wolf, Ulysses Sandoval, and Katie Huntsbury, they all finished in the top 20, either 1 or multiple laps down, and they were the last drivers to finish this race under power. Everybody else out of the race after 5 cautions for a total of 20 laps tonight. Paglia, Negron, Valete, Mo Causey, who started on the pole, Jeffrey Elliott, Josh Slocum, Brandstetter, Hagley, Finley, Balser, Heiser, and Bone all failed to reach the conclusion of tonight's race, and a bunch of those drivers will be looking to bounce back in next week's race. That's going to take us into our FRN post-race wind-down. It's time to dial up some drivers after a wild 66 laps here this evening. Let's see if we can get a hold of 3rd place performer, John Godfrey.
User was moved to your
Hey,
channel.
John, it's the guys up here in the FRN booth. You got a copy?
I do, Seth. How you doing?
A great run for you here tonight. That bright orange 711, very easy to see on the racetrack. Here this evening, looked like it was the tale of 2 races. First half of the race, all about survival. Second half of the race, all about execution on pit road. You checked both of those boxes, found yourself cycled up into that lead pack here in the closing stages. It got interesting with some lap traffic. Did you see a path maybe with the 38 and the 88 held up a little bit that maybe you could have stuck your nose there 3 wide and maybe been able to snipe this victory this evening?
Well, actually, I didn't do too good on the survival part of that checklist, Seth. I got collected up in one of those and was pretty tore up. So I'm pretty shocked to come away with a third place. And usually, if there's a way for my team to screw up a race, it'll be on pit road. But that last green flag stop was flawless. He actually came out ahead of Grant Wesley. And because of the previous damage, I don't think, well, I'm pretty sure I didn't have anything for Rodney, and congrats to him on his win. But no, we were just hanging on there and hoping for the best. And I'm glad I didn't get in anybody's way. I could do all right in the draft. I could hang with people, but I certainly wasn't going to be a contender for the win with the damage I had.
Certainly didn't know it was to that extent. I mean, we've seen drivers that have damage be able to still remain competitive, but some of them, like your car, couldn't really visibly see the damage, so did not know that you were in that situation. The execution on pit road there as well. We end up seeing a couple of groups come down pit lane, and there were some issues with both packs. Where were you guys in terms of the fuel window? Because I was trying to figure out. It looked like you guys had to take on a can and a half. Was there any way that you guys could have maybe stretched it far enough to just take on a can, or was it cut and dry?
No, it was going to be a lap or two with just a can, and that was just too much to overcome. I mean, it would have worked out fine if there was one more caution, but you can't bank on that. As it was, I was like 2 or 3 laps to the good, and it looks like all of us in that front pack opted for the can and a half. Nobody wanted to gamble on that.
Coming into tonight, it's the first race of the season. Everybody starts at 0 points. Did you yourself, or did you get the feeling other drivers were kind of treating this as a must-win race, as kind of a benchmark of what they would have to do the rest of the season, and maybe that's why we saw the aggressive racing we saw in the early going?
Yeah, that might have been a factor. It's with 10 races, it's kind of a short season, so you gotta get what you can get while you can get it.
Well, John, we've seen you on Thursday nights be really consistent. You're up in the top 10 in points there. Starting off this series consistent tonight with a podium finish in the first race of the brand new 6th season of the Shake and Bake series. Congratulations on a great performance. Sticking it out there with that damage you alluded to as well. Before we let you go, floor is yours for thank you, sponsors, and shoutouts.
Thank you, Seth. Yeah, first and foremost, thanks to Jeffrey Elliott for resurrecting Talladega Nights. It's good to be back. Thanks to FRN for your outstanding coverage. And the boys back at the shop for giving me a fast Schluter Systems Chevrolet. And again, the pit crew for that flawless green flag stop right at the end there. I sure needed that.
Now the pit stop gains him the track position to be up in the conversation late, and John Godfrey brings it home 3rd place here tonight. Congratulations on the great run. Best of luck next week as you look to follow it up.
Thanks, guys.
See if we can now get a hold of the driver that brought it home in the 2nd position. He made it exciting down in the end here through the tri-oval. Let's dial up Grant Wesley.
User was moved to your
Hey, Grant,
channel.
it's the guys up here in the FRN booth. Got a copy?
Yeah, I got you.
Man, I'll tell you what, we saw the plan. We saw you kind of backing off the 7-Eleven, trying to get them organized behind you, create a little space to generate a run. You almost had it timed perfectly. You had to shoot the gap 4 wide with a couple of those drivers on the tail end of the lead lap. Nearly sniped this thing. As you kind of go back and dissect it, what was the one mitigating factor that you needed to have that last little push to the stripe?
Yeah, so I've never really been able to do that. I've always thought about doing it, but given the situation, there's only 6 of us in the lead draft, and there's really no threat from anyone else. So I thought, I'll make it obvious there for a few laps. I was hoping the guys behind me would sort of see what I was doing and kind of develop a plan in their head of how we would go about it. And they got impatient with 2 to go, and Palmer and the 41 Denny went under me, and I was like, well, there it goes. And then I was able to get back around them. And we gave her another try. We got the run there on the white flag. I got under Godfrey. Godfrey didn't put up much of a fight. I think he had some damage. I was able to get behind the 38 going down the backstretch. And as far as what I could have done differently, I'm not really sure. I mean, I wish I could have. I think I had something there, but it just didn't work out the way I wanted it to. Maybe if I waited later, it would have been the thing to do. But yeah, as I came off turn 4, I seen those lap cars coming. And basically, my play was to use the lap car to pull me forward. And then obviously, Rodney would lose his draft from behind, that being me, and maybe create a run, which I did. It just wasn't enough. I was able to gain half a car length. And it is what it is. Congrats to Rodney Solons on the win. He's a tough competitor. I enjoy running with him and try to push him anytime I can.
So you had the execution on pit road that got you up into that lead pack, but I was talking just moments ago with Godfrey and said it was kind of a tale of two races. The execution came into play in the second half, but it was a lot of survival in the first half of this race. And Jack and I were mentioning a lot of these drivers up here in the top 3. We didn't talk about them a lot in the first half, and that was probably a good thing that you guys were able to sneak your way through or be ahead of those wrecks that occurred. Coming into tonight and having a lot of those early cautions and everything, how did that affect strategy? Because we saw so many different drivers kind of split coming to pit road during different caution periods. A lot of those caution periods, we saw a number of drivers come down and top off at the 1 to green. So how difficult was it to kind of formulate a strategy in the first half, setting up for the second half?
Yeah, the name of the game is always to stay out of trouble. There's this group of guys hasn't. I ran with a lot of them over at RTG. A few of them's kind of new faces, so I thought maybe there may be some jitters here for the first race, and there was. There were some cautions as kind of expected, but as far as pit strategy and stuff, I pretty much play the same card. I come down first time by, top off on fuel pretty much regardless of how many laps we ran. I'd assume have that better fuel position for the next pit stop, and make up my ground again. But yeah, just stay out of trouble. That was the name of the game.
A rather expedited regular season here, only 6 races after tonight, and the playoff grid is put together. A good step here in gaining some good points. Gonna have yourself up in the top 5 in the standings going into next week for sure, and we may be talking in victory lane before we get to the end of that regular season. We'll have to wait and see, but congratulations on the great run here tonight, Grant. Before we let you go, the floor is yours for thank you, sponsors, and shoutouts.
Yeah, hoping to defend my title from season 5, I guess it was the last season here, and yeah, hopefully we can get a win. We're gonna keep trying, and we're gonna make every race. I'd like to thank the owners here, Jeffrey Elliott, just for all the work he's done and bringing this thing back. I really miss running with this group, and I kind of like the flair that he brings. So it's good to have this back. The admins here, I know there's several of them. I don't know if I got them all wrote down here, but Jeff, Chris, Ken, Rodney, Breedlove, Garland, I think Bob Dixon as well. There's a whole slew of them, but thanks to those guys, the administration, for putting on a great show. FRN, you guys are great. Can't wait to watch this one back. My teammates with XFM, my friends and family for watching, and my girlfriend Brittany.
Well, that's Grant Wesley. He brings home second place here tonight. So close to getting that victory. Maybe next week he'll get that one position better, but congratulations on a great run here tonight in the season opener.
Thanks.
And let's see if we can get a hold of the driver that edged him out to pick up the first win here of season 6. Let's get a hold of Rodney Sullins.
User was moved to
Hey,
your
Rodney,
channel.
it's the guys up here in the FRM booth. Got a copy?
I got you, fellas. How you doing?
Tell you what, that number 38 car didn't look like it had a scratch on it, which cannot be said for a number of other cars in the field here tonight. You were able to avoid the carnage in the early going, executed on pit road, cycled around to the lead, and never gave it back, able to edge out Grant for this victory here tonight. You're locked into the playoffs here as well, but was it as easy as it looked?
Oh, yeah. I could have done it with my eyes closed. No, it was crazy. It's a crazy night. I don't know if it was just everybody was fired up about starting Talladega Nights again and got a little carried away, a little aggressive or what. I don't know. But there was a little bit of damage on some cars out there. So, yeah, it was kind of a battle of attrition. Me and Grant kind of chuckled about that, because one time me, him, and I think it was Cabana kind of pulled away from the guys a little bit, just the three of us. And he was like, I think those cars behind us are so damaged they can't keep up with us. And they of course, run us back down. But man, just keeping her straight. That's obviously was the key tonight. I know John, I think, had a little bit of damage. Grant, I don't think got any. So I don't know. But yeah, it was crazy. The ending was kind of crazy too there. I didn't know what was going on with the lap cars. I didn't want to run Grant when he went to the outside. I didn't want to run him into the back of them, but I didn't want to just completely let him use their draft either to get by me. So I'm like, well, I don't want, like I say, I don't want to run him into the back of them, but I'm not going to make it easy either. So anyway, it's fun.
I was just about to ask you about that too. With the normally when we end up having the close of a super speedway race, we don't really talk about traffic being that much of a factor. Obviously, you kind of had to slice and dice your way through some lap cars in those final couple of laps. How much communication was going on there of which line they were going to run as opposed to you, and how difficult is it to kind of split your focus on what's going on out the windshield while you're trying to defend for the race win as well?
Yeah, that was the big key. Is I'm trying to look at my mirror because from all your time doing this, the last few laps of the race, you're racing in your mirror, and when you got cars that were some on the outside, some on the inside, and when I was catching some, they were drifting all over the place, and then those two or three there coming to the start finish line, I'm just like, I'm going to watch Grant and see what Grant does because I think he had the only car maybe that was okay, and whatever he does, I'm just going to watch him and then glance back down and see what's happening in front of me and hope I don't hit anybody. So I lost a race at RTG once because the guy went to my outside and there was a lap cars to the outside, and it was I forgot the track, but there was a long straightaway to the start finish line, and he beat me by like 1/1000th of a second, but it was their draft that took him by me. So that literally crossed my mind as we were coming out of four. So it was interesting watching. I guess you could say one eye in the mirror and one eye out the windshield.
It was certainly interesting for us as well, waiting to see which line maybe could get a little bit of a draft off those lap cars and how that was going to play out. Obviously, it's an expedited type regular season, only 10 races this season, 3 of them playoff races, 7 races in the regular season, 1 now in the books. You've got yourself locked into the playoffs with this victory. So how much of a weight off your shoulders is that, and what does that free you up in terms of these upcoming 6 regular season races?
Well, wanted to come over here and do this just for fun. And well, now that I've got a win and locked into the playoffs, it's all it's going to be now from here till the playoffs is just for fun. Try to help some teammates and some friends, maybe get them a win or so. But yeah, that's just what I'm going to do. And here's the funny thing is I literally almost didn't come in tonight because I haven't been feeling well today. So I'm like, I don't even know if I'm going to race. I just don't feel good. And finally, I was like, I still don't feel very good right now. But I was, well, I'm going to go race. I'll race for a little while. If I feel bad, I may leave. And if I get wrecked and got a damaged car for sure, I'm going to drop out. None of that ever happened. So here I am, got lucky and here I am.
I can't tell you the number of drivers I've talked with in the past few years that have said that they weren't sure if they were going to race that evening and then they end up in victory lane. So let this be a lesson to anybody. If you're second guessing whether you should race, probably do it because there seems to be a pretty good track record of drivers going to victory lane when they've been questioning it in the early going. Rodney, congratulations on the victory here tonight, getting to burn it down here at Talladega Nights Super Speedway and securing yourself a spot in the postseason. Before we let you get back to your celebrating, the floor is yours for victory lane. Thank you, sponsors, and shoutouts.
Well, thank you, sir. I do appreciate you. And I don't know if I've ever watched a broadcast with Jack Mitchell, but I'm going to look forward to it. So thank you to you and Jack and Flatout Racing Network for broadcasting this. And, of course, Talladega Nights, Jeffrey Elliott, who's been a ton of work to get this back going. Him and his brother Chris, his wife Jenny, I know, getting this going. All the admins here. I hope I don't forget one. Ken, Bob, Garland, Craig, Chris, Robert. I guess I'm a part of that staff, kind of in the I'm at the bottom of the totem pole probably, but appreciate everybody who's got this to this point. Looking forward to the rest of the season. Of course, I want to thank John Godfrey there at the end for sticking with me. I hated to kind of bail on him, but I didn't want Grant to get by me. Grant, great job. It's always fun racing you. It's always clean. Black Rifle Coffee, Havana Brisa, my RPM teammates. Dad, I know you were watching, said your chat wasn't working, but hope you enjoyed it. Love you. And I guess I'll see you tomorrow evening because I'm flying to Dallas tomorrow. So finally going to pick up the Chevelle we talked about a while back, Seth. I had to leave it there with a friend, the guy who helped me build the engine, because there was I had a few things, a handful of things that I needed fixed that I hadn't been under the hood of a car like that in over 3 decades. So I didn't want to tackle that many problems. So, and they weren't big stuff. They were just things that a more experienced person would take care of. So I went down there a few weekends ago, come back empty handed. I'm leaving tomorrow morning, getting on a plane. I'll be there in Alabama tomorrow night, and sometime this week I'm bringing the Chevelle home. That's the plan.
Well, there you go. Good to hear. Congratulations, Rodney, on your victory here tonight, and enjoy your week and bring that baby home.
Thank you, Seth, as always, buddy. I appreciate you.
Rodney Sullins with the victory here this
User was
evening.
moved out
Now,
of your channel.
normally, when we end up getting to this portion of the broadcast, we do all of the preliminary sign-off stuff. Jack, you're going to get introduced to something here. Everybody excited to have Talladega Nights come back for the racing. I'm a stats guy, and I'm really excited because with the return of Talladega Nights, we get ready now for what we call the factoids. Let's get a hold of Bob Dixon, get those factoids right now.
Interesting
User
call.
was
Let's
moved
do
to
that.
your channel.
Hey, Bob, you got a copy?
Yeah, man, I do.
Man, I'll tell you what, I've been looking forward to this all race with the return of Talladega Nights. I'm hungry for some factoids. What do we got?
I got them coming at you right now. All right, you ready?
Yes, sir.
The race's top 5 fastest laps. Honorable mention was John Godfrey. 5th place was Bob Sire. Bob did a 47.901 second lap. That's 199.913 mile per hour, lap 43. 4th was Denny Carroll. Denny did a 47.879 second lap. That's 200.005 mile per hour, lap 42. 3rd was Jessica Lorelei. She did a 47.845 second lap. That's 200.147 mile per hour, lap 43. Second, our second admin in there, Chris Elliott. Chris did a 47.843 second lap. That's 200.155 mile per hour, lap 43. And the fastest lap of the night goes to Robert Spring. Robert did a 47.843 second lap. That's 200.155 mile per hour, lap 43. And I believe those two tied. Yeah, they did. And the most laps led tonight was R.J. Cabana at 20 laps. Rodney Sellens, congrats on your win, Rodney. You did 14. Robert Breedlove did 9. Kelly Causey did 9. Denny Carroll did 6. Grant Wesley 4. Robert Spring 1. Jeff Elliott 1. Greg Palmer 1. And Chris Elliott 1. And that's your factoids for the night. We appreciate you guys covering us.
Absolutely. Well, Bob, appreciate you. I've been looking forward to this ever since we were asked to come back here and broadcast Talladega Nights, one of my favorite segments of our broadcast. Appreciate you taking the time here to give us the factoids.
Man, I appreciate that. Thank you so much. God bless you guys.
Bob Dixon with our factoids
User
here
was moved
tonight
out of
at the
your channel.
conclusion of race number 1. kind of interesting here tonight, Jack, to kind of see if we can put a finger on the pulse of the series, because it seemed like a lot of drivers had different agendas here this evening. It all culminated with drivers just trying to survive the night, salvage what they could. Only a handful of drivers up to speed. Even one of the drivers that we talked to that finished on the podium was dealing with damage here tonight. How do we maybe see this translate now that we've gotten the early season jitters out of our system and got this first race under our belts? How does the mindset maybe change from tonight into next week?
Well, I feel like a lot of drivers definitely felt like they knew what they're at least capable of doing now that the series is back in action and now that everybody's kind of up to speed. I feel like we might see races calm down a little bit over the next few weeks just because everybody's kind of like, okay, we know what things are like now. We know how to race with these drivers, with this specific group of drivers, I should say. So now let's calm things down a little bit. Let's figure it out. Let's not get too jittery just yet. Anybody who has a few successful runs over the course of, I would say, the next 2 or 3 races probably will be in a good enough spot where they don't need to panic for the last 3 or 4 races.
It's going to be very interesting to follow up next Saturday night. It'll be at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We will be continuing on this 6th season of the Talladega Nights Shake and Bake Series. Rodney Selvins knows that he's going playoff racing as he picks up the victory here tonight. He just has to stay in the top 20 in points. Number of drivers got some good starts to the season in terms of points here this evening with top 5 and top 10 runs, but a lot of drivers will be looking to play catch up in next week's race. We hope you will join us for that one. Thanks to everybody that tuned into our coverage here tonight. And we continue on our coverage here of Super Speedway Racing as we begin the new week. Tomorrow night, we are at Burnt Screwdrivers Raceway at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time to cover the third to last race of the season for the ASR Super Speedway Series. So be sure to join us for that one. Jack, appreciate you joining me here tonight. Wild race under the lights at Talladega Nights Super Speedway.
Absolutely wild. Great finish. Even though there were only 6 cars left in it at the end of it, it was still a really electric finish. So looking forward to seeing what's on the table for next week.
Absolutely. We'll see you all next Saturday night as we continue our coverage of the 6th season of the Talladega Nights Shake and Bake Series. For Jack Mitchell, I'm Seth Cole. Enjoy the rest of your Saturday evening, folks, as you've been watching another broadcast courtesy of FRN, the Flatout Racing Network.
This broadcast is the copyrighted work of Flatout Racing Network and may not be rebroadcast, retranslated, or used in any form without the express written consent of Flatout Racing Network and iRacing.com Motorsports Simulations. Flatout Racing Network would like to thank you for your support, and we hope you enjoyed tonight's broadcast.